What is good, Mexiplanners? I hope you're doing well. On today's Merida Yucatan Mexico update, we're going to be talking about Hurricane Grace. Let's go. Thank you to my returning subscribers and viewers. If you're new to the channel, know that this is the place to get all of your expat questions answered. So do me a favor and subscribe. Thank you. If you're planning to move to Merida, Mexico, one of the things that you'll need to consider is the weather. And I'm not talking about just the heat, although the heat can be rough. One of the things that you need to consider, particularly if you're coming from an area that's not used to them, is hurricane. So it's hurricane season here in the Yucatan Peninsula. As of May 22nd, all the way to November 30th, we are in hurricane season. And this year, they're predicting more than 17 storms. In a typical year, you would get maybe 12 storms, 12 cyclones, but this year they're predicting 17. The Yucatan Peninsula includes 3 states, Quintana Roo, which is from Cancun all the way down past Tulum, but those are the areas that most people are familiar with. It also includes the state of Yucatan, which has major cities like Valladolid, Tizmin, Progreso, and Merida, Merida being the largest of all of those cities. And then you have the state of Campeche, which includes cities like Ciudad del Carmen and the city of Campeche. So those 3 states make up the Yucatan Peninsula, and much like, the Florida or any other peninsula, you have to be concerned with on one side, the Caribbean side, which is where Quintana Roo is, you have to be worried about storms entering from the Atlantic going into the Caribbean. And then also when storms get up into the Gulf of Mexico, well, Progreso and Merida is only 25 minutes from Progreso, is at risk for storms that enter the Gulf of Mexico and that spin, clockwise or counterclockwise down towards the Yucatan Peninsula. So last year in 2020, we had 5 major storms, starting with Cristobal, which just literally set over Campeche and just doused Merida with rain, caused a lot of flooding. And then it ended kind of with Zeta, which was a category 3 hurricane, I believe, when it came through, that hit Merida. So last year was a busy year for storms. This year already we've had our first storm, which is Hurricane Grace, and I'll give you an idea of what that storm was like. So Hurricane Grace arrived last Wednesday over in the state of Quintana Roo. It hit just south of Tulum and cut across the jungle on its way just south of Merida. Now, one of the nice things about being on this side and when a storm enters from the Caribbean side is that it has to go pass over all of this jungle, and that typically weakens the storm. And so by the time it got to Merida, the storm was significantly weaker than it was when it hit Tulum. But for us, the real event started around maybe 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday, and it was really more of a wind event. Wind that we saw, or gust, was around 73 miles an hour, which was just below hurricane status. But there were some definitely scary times. I mean, it was a sustained, from 2 o'clock to probably 7 o'clock. There were definitely sustained high winds and lots of trees fell. So if you look at the footage attached, there are lots of trees down, lots of low power lines, lots of low cables just hanging across the streets, things of that nature. So people lost internet, people lost power. I believe 154,000 folks in the state of Yucatan lost power. Now, this is our second hurricane event that we've been through. Last year, we experienced Zeta, which was a category 3 when it was predicted to come to Merida. And in that situation, a lot of people, took out tape and taped up their windows and made other precautions. The lines in Walmart were packed. It was pretty gnarly to see, going through our first hurricane, what to do. But we escaped pretty well. There was a lot of raining and flooding, but the house that we lived in was actually pretty well protected. It didn't have much damage. This year we had a lot of leaves down. It was leaves and twigs in our yard, and this house again was protected. And so we were saved from any major damage. And in fact, we only lost power when they cut power. So one of the things that they do as a precaution here during hurricane season is that they actually cut power for a couple hours just to ensure that, you know, any lines that come down or what have you don't cause any major damage. And so there was a couple hours where they cut power probably from, let's say, 2 o'clock until 5 or 6. After that, we had power, we had internet. We were very blessed to really dodge a bullet with this particular hurricane. So one of the things that you should definitely be considering when moving to Merida, Mexico is, you know, how you're planning to deal with, if you can deal with, the hurricane season as well as the heat. The biggest storm to hit, Merida is generally not directly in the path of a major hurricane. The biggest storm to hit here was probably 19 years ago, and that was Isidoro. Isidore really did some major damage. It displaced over 500,000 people, left them homeless. It killed 17 folks. It was a really, really gnarly storm that tore up, you know, the city and put down more than 30 inches of rain. So anytime it rains really heavily here, that's a problem because of flooding. This place is completely flat, and so it floods very easily. And I can imagine 30 inches of rain. I saw last year what flooding can do to you know, major cities or, you know, the small pueblos here. Flooding can really devastate a community. So we were very lucky this year with grace to escape with just wind. On Friday, people were out cleaning up, you know, getting their curbs and leaves and limbs and things up. By Saturday, you really, other than just some standing water that's on a few streets, it's very difficult to tell that we had a major hurricane come through. A category 1 is what Grace started out as it came inland, but it's hard to really tell. On a normal given day this time of the year, from say 6 o'clock till 8 o'clock, it's not uncommon to have really strong wind gusts, like it's a hurricane or a tornado or something coming through, and a storm will roll through. It'll dump a bunch of rain really fast. I'm talking inches of rain in a short amount of time, and then it'll roll out. That's a pretty common weather pattern here in the tropics during the summer or during the rainy season. But, you know, this storm was pretty much, it was all wind, very little rain, or it did rain. It rained a little bit consistently, but not a whole lot at one time. And so we didn't really see a lot of the flooding. So everybody's safe here on my side. I thank you guys for your prayers, and we will continue with these weekly updates soon. And I just wanted to give you guys something really funny. So on these weekly updates, I announced that I plan to do them. I was getting the newspaper, and the week that I started or planned to start doing these regularly, the newspaper stopped. So they kind of, you know, got me hooked on getting the newspaper. They were throwing it in my driveway and I was reading it, and then they stopped. So I subscribed to the service. It was supposed to start last week. It hasn't gotten here yet. So I need to call on Monday and figure out where my newspaper is, but I'll continue to do these weekly updates. So how do you feel about moving to a place that gets hurricanes? Leave me a comment below and let me know if your concerns with, you know, potentially hurricanes and the severe weather that may come with that. I appreciate you guys for your time and attention. And until next time, Mexitplans Monty, I'm out.